Right, so we've got the realms of mathematical complexity. Now we finished off where we'd entered the simple mathematic routines and the very simple mathematic equations. Now as all mathematicians will realise, that there are even smaller mathematical equations to be considered. Fragments of mathematics, fragments of all of this. Now just like time fragments, once it's increased in density, it then fragments, and you can get broken time. Now, because the existence isn't what you would call mathematically perfect, it means that the mathematics that exists, even in its density, creates all of the existence in which we live in. So that also means that when time fragments, which it will, and it does in its density, it creates time anomalies in places. Now these time anomalies create an uneven layer. So it's not computer mathematically perfect, right? Creation. It won't exist in a computer. And because of its diverse structure, when you go to the point of simple equations, you can go further back to very tiny fragments of mathematical equations. But we're going to leave that alone for the time being. If you remove all of that and you end up outside the expanse, you end up in a realm of spiritual. Outside the expanse, and there may be, right, other layers to this because of the fragments of mathematics. Now you need to consider and think of the creational process like this. All things have a border and a boundary, and all mathematical principles have a beginning and an end. You can have things that might not have a beginning or an end, but will have the eternal spiral or the eternal eight scenario, where it's a mathematical principle that doesn't come to an end. There's no end to it. It's constant and infinite. Infinity. So there's the infinity calculation right there. The eternal eight symbol. Now, once the expanse has gone and you have removed it, right, then the only thing that ever exists before that came into existence was spiritual life. And spiritual life is a realm. And in the spiritual realm, you have every single thing that I have spoken about in the physical reality of life, and all of the existence of life, and all of the mathematics and the calculations to life, and all the matter and all the dark matter, and all of the mathematical calculations of the mathematical layer of life. And all of that exists in the spiritual. So it means that the spiritual and the realm of spiritual existence is the seed to all life. So the realm of the spiritual existence is all-encompassing, the whole of everything else, and like a shell in an atom, when you bring in an electron one, you get a shell, electron shell. If you bring in another electron, you'll get another electron shell. And when you bring in as many atoms as you need to build a hydrogen atom, right, or just an atom, you get multiple shells of energy shells. Now, the spiritual existence of spiritual realm contains every single little thing that exists in the physical reality of physical real time passing. But it all exists, all at the same time, and in one realm called a spiritual realm, which is why when you die and you have a face of a good face and you reach the heavens, all knowledge is known. The whole of the existence of the reality that you have lived in the physical flesh is all known as soon as you get there, because that's the spiritual existence of life. Now, like I said, the spiritual existence of life is a seed. In the three-dimensional realm creation of 3 dimensions, the outer casing to creation, which is the spiritual existence of spiritual life, is the outer casing to creation. This outer casing is a seed, and it's a seed that exists in a much larger and greater existence. And because creation is multi-diverse, chaotic, the light that comes from creation, or rainbow, right, is the spiritual light of the spiritual existence of the spiritual seed. And there is a greater, more diverse and more complex existence outside that spiritual seed. So we are eternally growing. So once you reach heaven, it's not the end. And because we are a seed of spiritual life, we will be a small, tiny particle of spiritual life in a much larger existence, filled with lots of other multi-diverse, calculative spiritual life and multi-diverse, complex spiritual life, which is why when you get to the heavens, you get to not only know the whole knowledge of your own existence, right, but you also get to understand the existence of life, right, of living beings and living creatures and living things. So all of this is just so we can ascend to one existence, and then we become the seed for the existence of life higher up. And it's just eternal, continuous, on and on and on and on and on. That is the meaning to life.